All right, here's everybody. Lots of smiles. There's the parents. Okay. Yeah, there's smiles happening, which is very weird. Whoop, she's looking right at us. Girl, she just looked in my soul. She just looked in my soul. Okay, let's see. Very interesting. Wow. I don't watch a lot of true crime stuff like this, so it's very interesting. We'll definitely do it in the future, too. I think there are more cases I want to cover. Here he is. I wonder if Ariel's in the court or Emil or anybody. Do you guys think so? And then I was curious. You know, I said I wouldn't sit on the side of my family member if they were guilty, obviously. But I wonder if you have to. Like, if his parents were there and had the choice, like they're there, could they sit on Ariel's side or the Hawaii side, I guess, in this case, since it's not Ariel, it's the Hawaii, state of Hawaii? Or do they have to sit on his side, you know? Because I wouldn't want to. I'd want to sit on her side or Hawaii side or a neutral side. But still, I mean, it's their son. I understand why they're there. I just don't, you know, I don't know the rules. But I wonder who's there, you know? Yeah, Chad said like a family or like a wedding, like a family sides. I don't know, but maybe, you know, kind of. Chad said I don't think they'd be restricted. I hope not. Maybe not, right? You wouldn't think so, but I don't know. You know, I've only been to court a few times and, you know, I've never done something like this, obviously. So who knows? Yeah, isn't court a public place? Yeah, I think so. I think, well, of course, some places are closed, right? But since this one is publicized, I assume we could have been there, right? Isn't this like some court cases are public where even journalists are there or regular people can show up? Should we take a field trip to a court case? It'd be kind of crazy, honestly. Oh, this must be so anxiety inducing, just like waiting around, sitting around. See, I don't want to miss anything, so I'm afraid to skip. I don't think it's very long, though. It's got to be, like, right here. Yeah, I don't want to skip. I don't want to see anyone's reactions, either. We're just going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait. Have to be patient. Yeah, Chad said I'm getting anxious. I know, I'm getting so anxious. Like, I'm sweating. I'm literally sweating. I just know the few times I have been to court was the worst experience of my life. I felt like vomiting the whole time. You really feel like you're so in trouble, even when you're not in trouble. Like, even when you're innocent, you feel so bad. It's such a bad feeling. Oh my gosh. Oh, let's see. Oh, here we go. All right, let's hope. Let's see. Will justice be served today? It's on regular speed. My God, the anxiety is insane. Ugh. Oh, okay. I guess they were waiting on them, maybe? Woo.
You are unmuted.
Unmuted.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
On case number 7, State of Hawaii versus Gerhardt Konig, 1 CPC-25-373 for further jury trial. Counsel, can I have your appearances, please?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Joel Garner for the state. Also present is Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Franklin Don Bucaro, Jr.
Afternoon, Mr. Garner. Afternoon, Mr. McCarr.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thomas Otake and Manta Dirks on behalf of Dr. Gerhardt Konig, who is present.
Afternoon, Mr. Osaki. Afternoon, Mr. Dirks. Afternoon, Dr. Konig.
Afternoon, Your Honor.
Gentlemen, all of you can be seated. Counsel, I wanted to raise a few things on the record. The court received communication number 1 this morning from the jury at 10:28. I did not send it out to you, and when I read it out loud to you, you can understand why. The jury wrote asking 6 questions. 1, may we please have blue painter state? 2, may we please have large post-its? 3, may we please have other colored dry erase pens? 4, may we have another whiteboard?
Oh.
5, an easel for a notepad. 6, regular markers.
Cute.
I didn't send this through to you. It was more just asking for supplies. So the court answered the communication at 10:35 stating the court will collect and provide the requested materials. The additional whiteboard may be difficult, but we will look for one or a suitable substitute. With respect to the handling of the communication number 1 from the jury this morning, Mr. Garner, any objections by the state?
None from the state.
How about you, Mr. Osaka?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
That would have been crazy if he was
And
like,
then
yeah.
Communication number 2 was received at 2:18 this afternoon, stating we've reached a verdict. And
Okay.
before the jury goes back into the courtroom, counsel, is there anything else you want to take up on record? Mr. Garth.
Nothing at the moment.
Mr. Osaka.
No, Your Honor.
And Ms. McCallum, the jury is ready. We'll take them.
Oh my God, okay. I don't know what this is. I feel sick. I feel so nauseous. Ooh. They're gonna go back. They're gonna go back, I think. Ooh, I can't believe I'm physically sick. I'm literally physically sick, guys. Isn't that
All
insane?
rise for the jury.
Okay, okay.
Okay, everyone can be seated. Jury is now in the courtroom. Can the foreperson of the jury please stand and state their name?
Jury number 9, Makoto Atkins.
Ms. Atkins, good afternoon. Has the jury reached a verdict in this case?
Yes, Judge, yeah.
And did you sign and date the verdict form?
Yes, Judge.
Can you leave it in the manila folder? Ms. McCallum will come and collect it from you. Ms. Atkins, you can have a seat. Thank you. Dr. Konig, can you stand as the clerk of the court reads the verdict of the jury?
Case number 1 CPC-25-00000373, State of Hawaii versus Gerhardt Konig. We, the jury in this case, finds the defendant guilty of attempted manslaughter based upon extreme mental or emotional disturbance, dated 4/8/26 by the foreperson.
Gentlemen, you can be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to call you by chair number, not by name, but by chair number. And I'm going to ask that you answer out loud either yes or no.
Oh, thank God.
If you agree with the verdict that was read out loud here in court, you
Oh
would
my
answer
God.
yes. If you disagree with the verdict that was read out loud in court, you would
thank
answer
God.
no. Starting with chair
Oh
number
my
one.
God, I'm crying.
Chair 2,
Yes.
chair 3,
Oh,
chair number 4,
Yes.
chair number 5,
Yes.
chair number 6,
Yes.
chair 7,
Yes.
chair 8,
Yes.
chair number 9,
Yes.
chair 10,
Yes.
chair number 11, chair number 12. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Dr. Konig, the verdict of the jury is indeed unanimous and consistent with their verdict. The court judges you guilty of attempted manslaughter in this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I am going to send you back into the jury deliberation room one more time. There's a little bit more paperwork that you'll need to complete with Ms. McCallum. I will make myself available. I'll come into the jury room in about 5 minutes in case anybody has any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. You don't have to wait though. If you want to get an early head start on your commute home, you're free to do so. When you leave in the hallways of the courthouse, the attorneys might be outside. They're always interested in hearing feedback from the jury. In addition, you know, there's media that has covered this case. There will be members of the media out in the hallway as well. Some of them may invite you to talk about your jury experience. You're free to talk to anybody that you want to now that your jury service is just about at an end.
just to be clear, guys, it says Hawaii doctor found guilty of attempted manslaughter, which I'm a little confused on the legality of this, like how long he'll be in prison, what it will look like. So obviously, you know, they said for mental, so I'm not sure if it was like a crime of passion in their head, but he was at least found guilty. So maybe it's not like premeditated or degree or murder in the first degree. Is that how you say it? But okay, there you go. 20 years-ish, but he's speaking. 20 years?
However, if you don't want to talk with anybody,
Oh, appealing, not speaking. I was like, what? He's appealing. Okay.
you don't have to. And that includes me.
Which from my understanding is normal. Here's his parents. From my understanding, it's normal to make an appeal. Guys, that made me so emotional though. Oh my God.
So you don't have to wait for me to come into the jury room. If you don't want to talk to anybody, including me, you're free to leave. But before you do go, though, if I do not have a chance to speak with you, on behalf of the parties and the rest of the judiciary, thank you very much for your time and your service. We started this case, it feels like a month ago. It's been a long haul for all of you. It has not been easy. We never thought it was going to be easy when we started this case. We already talked about how hard.
Yeah, chat's saying they specifically ruled that it wasn't premeditated and was a crime of passion. You know, for the story, the way the story is, I'll take it. I think he was looking for an opportunity to kill her. And I accept that the best they could do without any doubt was in the moment he made the decision because it was so sloppy. But in my head, given the evidence, it feels very premeditated. But maybe because the primary weapon was the rock and that couldn't have been premeditated given the context, maybe that's why they came to that conclusion.
Hard job it was going to be. And through it all, you had to endure that weather, that traffic, horrible parking conditions. Thank you very much for your flexibility, your perseverance. I hope you and your family remain safe during this weekend. Again, if I don't get to talk with you, thank you very much. You have our utmost gratitude. And like I said at the beginning of this case, and this is still true today, it has been my great honor to serve with you on this case. Thank you very much.
We love you, Judge.
So for the last time,
He's so
into
cute.
the jury deliberation.
In a respectful
All
way.
rise.
Kind. Damn, is that it, bro? Yeah, I guess that's it. Wow. Your legal system at play. I found the judge very kind. I found the prosecution very professional. I mean, a little young, but professional. I found the defense very obnoxious, and I know he had to do his job, but Jesus Christ. It's always interesting how devastating this must be. And really, I don't take it for granted. I hope I never have to be in this position as a sister, as a loved one. I hope I never get a phone call that somebody in my life ever is in this position, either as the victim or the perpetrator. I think we take for granted because we always assume someone in our life will be the perpetrator or the victim. But I do not take for granted that somebody in our life could be the perpetrator. And I hope every day to be a person in my community who any way possible can encourage people away from that decision. No matter how angry you are or upset or betrayed you feel, there is always a better option than violence. And it's why violence, they say, is never the answer. Though we accept in a world where humans are animals and we make decisions and that's just how we are, that's our reality, we can have a deeper relationship with our biological experience. And though violence might feel like something that's so natural to you, and I understand that, it in 99% of situations is just not the answer, right? And we're always trying to be less bad and to be better people. And so, in many ways, I'm sad for his children, of course. They've lost a father. I'm sad for his parents. They've lost a son. I'm sad for Ariel. She's lost a husband. I'm sad for everybody who ever knew him. They lost a friend, or anyone who has to deal with the reality that what happens when he gets out. Let's say he gets out, he serves his time, and who's going to house him? Who's going to care for him? And this is why I believe in universal housing, because whether we like it or not, you do the, crime, you pay the time, and then what? He has to come back into society. If we're not going to lock him up forever, there has to be a rehabilitation that happens, though I obviously think he probably, there's a lot layers here, but, who's going to take him in after he gets out? Who's going to be responsible for him? Who's going to house him? Right? But he's probably going to get out if this is the charge. And so he will eventually be a person in society. Now, I do think, and this is important, again, I don't really believe in the prison system. I think it's incredibly evil and bad, and it rarely do victims see justice. So this is some version of justice that I appreciate occurring, but it is, one case, and it is not many cases. And so we have to kind of hope that there's some, maybe a precedent set, but some sort of hope that this will continue, because I genuinely came in today really thinking he might have been found not guilty. I mean, they already lessened the degree to which he was found guilty, but I really came in today thinking there might be a possibility that he might get away with being not guilty. And that is the reality that we live in. We live in a world where there was that possibility. And that's what we have to work on. So I'm very anti-prison systems. I really think they're deeply unethical. And I really think somebody like Gerhardt needs to be put in a facility, yes, but they shouldn't be punishment centers. They should be rehabilitation centers. And rehabilitation does not mean going back to your old life. I don't think you should ever serve as a medical professional. I don't think you should ever be a doctor, since the oath of a doctor is always to value the sanctity of life and help your patients. I don't think he at any point should hold that license again. And I do think the rehabilitation can look like you having a life that doesn't look like the one you had before. And maybe it even looks like staying in a facility for the rest of your life. But I don't think it needs to be a punishment center. I don't believe in punishment. I don't think if you torture a bad person, that makes you a good person. I just think it makes you a bad person, right? So, yeah, this is why we advocate for a government that takes care of its citizens, even citizens you don't like. I do think felons should vote. I think criminals should be allowed to vote. I do think that, I believe in rehabilitation. So not all crimes are the same. You can commit lots of crimes and come back into society. But I'm just relieved that this was the decision, that this was the verdict, Any thoughts, any closing thoughts on this case? And thank you for being here and watching it with me and going through it with me. If there are other court cases or, other things we should watch that you're like, hey, this one's we should watch it. We can talk about it. I know there's a few right now going viral. But if there's one in particular, actually a viewer sent this one to me. I wasn't even going to watch it on my own. I didn't realize they had done an update. So thank you to the viewer who tagged me on TikTok. You guys can always tag me in posts and say, hey, Britt, you might want to cover this. And I might just cover it. So shout out to that person who tagged me, Just as a medical professional myself, I can't even get into how bad it pissed me off when unfit people are in this field. I know. I can only imagine how frustrating that is, right? Right? It's so, so frustrating, Let's see. Chet says, will he still have some money in the bank after prison? How does child support work when you're in prison? Well, that's a great question, actually. I kind of assume prisoners don't pay child support, because that wouldn't make sense. I feel like the supporting the child would be leaving their life in that context, right? That's really interesting. I never thought about that. Does anybody know the answer for that? Let me see if I can Google it really fast. Do prisoners pay child support? Prisoners generally remain obligated to paying child support, as incarceration does not automatically stop payments. Yeah, but that doesn't even make sense, because you can't make money in prison, and the money you make is pennies. And that's how they get people to volunteer to be firefighters and die fighting fires when they're not formally trained. So I don't think that's ethical. I'm not sure that's ethical, right? There's layers to that. There's a lot of layers. Let me do this. Let me go to the comment section of the video to see what the viewers in this general court TV video is saying. Let's see. They screwed up. This was premeditated attempted murder, weak jury. Oh, that's why people kept saying the jury fucked up. The jury fucked up. Yeah, the jury didn't do what I wanted, but I'm not the jury. I'll take it, but that's frustrating, right? I'm disgusted by the weak verdict. That's an evil little man who got off way too easy. His son's testimony should have sealed the deal for attempted murder. Absolutely. He did not do this on accident. That is ridiculous. Extreme emotional disturbance, more likely emotionally disturbed. This guy's a creepy nutcase. Okay, so okay, I see why people were upset about the jury, right? Honestly, guys, I hear you. I see that. I also see from their perspective why they came to that conclusion. And look, there's a big possibility that they couldn't come to a consensus, and that's why they settled. But remember, from my understanding, had they not come to a consensus, it would have caused a bigger problem with the chances of him getting off, right? If I'm not mistaken, like, you all have to come and agree. And if there's a fight about not coming to, then usually, I would rather him be convicted of something. But also I see, okay, yeah, I can see why that's frustrating. Jury, this was premeditated. Yeah, I think it's hard because though I opinion-wise think it was premeditated, I also can see why it might not have been as premeditated as we think. Like, maybe the jury's thinking, maybe he was thinking about killing her, but he didn't actually think about it for the hike. I could see that. I could see them saying, well, maybe as an angry person, he was like, I'm going to kill this bitch. He wanted to kill her, but he didn't actually plan to kill her on that hike. So maybe the hike wasn't premeditated. Or maybe you could say, because maybe that's what they were thinking. And I could kind of see that perspective of he wasn't planning on doing it that day, but because she brought up Jeff, whatever, it triggered him. And then he had to kill her, and then he kind of freaked. Maybe that's what they were thinking. Though, of course, if I was there, I would have been like, no. Like, I think he was intending. I think he was looking for an opportunity. Because, if I remember correctly, I do not recall anyone saying he was looking for an opportunity. And I think that was something our community was saying, right? That I think he was looking for an opportunity. Because of the way he reacted, so his reaction was so intense for something so minimal, right? Like, for what she did, his reaction is just so insane, right? It's just crazy, right? Chet says he literally smuggled in a syringe. So the reason, we never got confirmation. They never found the syringe. If the jury had found the syringe, it would have been different. But they never found it. It never got admitted to evidence, right? They didn't find the syringe. There was no evidence of the syringe. It was only her testimony, which is why the defense lawyer said it was he said, she said. And because of that, so now we have the only weapon of evidence is a rock, which couldn't have been premeditated because it was a part of the natural, right? It was a part of the outside. So then if the syringe had been found, 100% premeditated, easy to prove. Because it wasn't found, I could see them thinking it was spur of the moment, he couldn't take it. When Ariel said he grabbed her and said, I'm sick of this shit, it does sound like an emotional response. It does sound more like, I'm so sick of this shit. I could see that, right? Yeah, Chad said, but I thought they didn't need premeditation for it to be second degree attempt murder. Isn't that the point of second degree? Well, they ended up doing, the TV says, or the court TV says, Hawaii doctor found guilty of attempted manslaughter. Let's see. Is accused of attempting to kill his wife. Let me see. The problem is this is in my bubble and I'm not a lawyer. I'm a philosophy girly. So the dilemma is I just don't have this knowledge. I'm sure there are great, Emily Baker's probably reviewing it. I'm sure a lot of lawyers are reviewing it, but this is just, I don't know the legality of the requirement, so that's probably what's happening here. But I will just say this, 2026 is the time to be the most serious about dating, forming friendships, making connections, networking, and recognizing that you are never to be blamed for your abuser's actions. You are never to be guilted by, what you did to make him murder you. I never want to hear anybody say, well, what did she do? Well, look what she did. And I did get a couple of comments saying like, you're making her out to be a saint. She also tore up the family. Absolutely not. Okay. I will not have you slander this woman in the context of this situation and paint her to be some harlot. Okay. And even if she had been, right, we can talk about that, but she wasn't even. And so for people to feel in any way that it's important to point out that she was doing this horrible thing that she wasn't even doing, that was never proved in court, right? That was never even proved by their own stories, that this is, you want to say he said, she said, difference of opinion. In my opinion, okay, what she did with Jeff, at most inappropriate. And in the context of certain marriages where it's negotiated, maybe cheating, but it has to be negotiated. You cannot take it for granted. You cannot say, like Gerhardt said, this is not how you should talk to someone who isn't your husband. I disagree. I think the way she was talking to Jeff is the way I talk to most people in my life. I didn't see anything in those text messages that didn't feel like a normal conversation. The only issue is that under patriarchy and heterosexual relationships, the idea of what is cheating is so subjective to the bubble. I mean, there are religious couples that don't think men and women should have friends that are men and women. Wasn't it the vice president of the United States who said he never has dinner alone with a woman? So he just never has a coworker he goes and gets beers with, or never has a conversation. You know what I mean? Mike Pence, didn't Mike Pence say that? You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I get it. If that's your religion, which I think is patriarchal and should be deconstructed, fine. But you need to negotiate that. You need to make that clear. It needs to be, it all needs to be clear. Otherwise, it's, this doesn't matter in the context of him trying to murder her. Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Discourse said brave search. No, second degree manslaughter is not second degree murder. They are distinct legal categories separated primarily by the intent of the accused. Second degree murder requires that the accused intended to kill or intended to cause bodily harm known to be likely to cause death, even if the act was not premeditated. In contrast, manslaughter involves a killing where there was no intent to kill, but the death resulted. Okay, like a car accident, right? But he was found guilty of attempted manslaughter. So basically, he hit her with the rock in a form of self-defense, and it could have killed her, but he's lucky it didn't. And had it killed her, it would have been manslaughter. Is that basically what that was? Because he says the nurses came upon, right? The nurses showed up as he's attacking her. And if the nurses hadn't showed up, Ariel would have been dead. And then it would have been manslaughter, crime of passion. So basically, attempted manslaughter. I get it. I get it. I get the thought. I get the logic. I do get the logic of the jury. And I also understand why people are upset, right? I do get it. I get it. I think in the moment right now, I'll sit on it and I'll meditate on it. But I think it might be the correct answer given the evidence, technically. I believe her though. I believe the syringe. I believe Emil. I believe them. Legally, in terms of what was presented as evidence, actual evidence, I agree the evidence showed the safest bet would be technically what they decided. The more likely is that he intended to do it. But in the court of law, in the way that it is, I get it. The question as a society is this the future we want? But we have to be very careful because we do live in a world where the mob wants vengeance. Right? Remember, the mob killed Jesus and all that. The mob wants vengeance. So I caution us from being excited to see someone suffer, even this man. Okay, this is a philosophy channel, and we always want to be centered back into our joy and not our philosophical evil. So I hear your passion. I hear your upsettedness. I hear this comment section on this video. But we want to remain wise. We want a wise society that has a system that reflects within reason the right form of justice. And right now we barely have that. We just don't have that as it is, So I get it. As a person, I think it was premeditated. As a juror, I can see why they came to that conclusion, That says, gosh, the court system is so scary. I feel like there has to be a better way. Like the jury being educated in psychology. Oh my God, or law. Could you imagine? What would the world look like? But then it wouldn't be by a group of your peers. Then it would go against the foundation of what we think is a fair trial, which is to be judged by your peers, right? So, that's interesting. Yeah. Chet says, yes, you'll have to consider that they will try to appeal. That's true too. Like, we already know, I think he is trying to appeal, right? It says he already heard her by the manipulation, how he threatened her by making her quit her job, admit they had an affair, though it was never wanting her to be separated from her kids. I know. Like he really showed such abusive, controlling tactics in everything that he did. And in every way he tried to control the situation, which we know. I think that's the dilemma. We know what abusive, toxic relationships look like. It is not illegal to be abusive in most cases. And I really don't think it technically should be, but I think we should be careful about how it manifests. But I think for those of us who have had any sort of contact with or relationship with anybody, I get it. I also want to say, and this might sound like it doesn't relate, but let me just tell you this. Because I covered something on BPD the other day, and I tell you this, I very often, most of the time, never Google BPD stuff, because as a girly who was diagnosed, the internet is very violent towards BPD people. They want to see you suffer. They literally think we should all be in jail and we should never have the right to anything because they've been so hurt by somebody who they think is BPD or they think is diagnosed BPD that they don't even believe will ever be healthy or happy. And that is a scary world to live in, where the world gets to turn on you because of their pain and they want to see you suffer. So I caution you from engaging in that same feeling about Gerhardt, even though it might be tempting. And I will say, as somebody who, my family member, there's not formal diagnosis, but a theory that they might be BPD. And they are deeply exactly the description of people's BPD when they say BPD. But I'm BPD and I'm not like that at all. And so it's very painful to say, either way, whatever his diagnosis is, he's mean and he's cruel and he's controlling and he's unethical. More than a diagnosis, he's just a bad person. And I'm not a bad person and I have BPD. And it's very hard to live in a world where you're associated and the mob comes at you. And that's why I say you can't judge people based off a diagnosis. You have to judge people by the content of their character. So when we sit here and we say, I've been abused, I know abusers, I know controlling people, I know you do. I know I do. And yet we must be cautious with how we then treat other people because we want to make sure we're wisely showing up as the adults in the room, wisely showing up as the leaders in the room, wisely showing up as the responsible parties in the room, okay? So I hear you, I get it, it's real, we're all in pain, and yet, given the situation, I hope none of you feel so emboldened as to attack the jurors. I certainly hope that nobody, I know my audience wouldn't, but anyone who's not in my audience who might be watching this, I hope you don't think you're a good person if you go out of your way to attack these jurors, because you just know they're about to get so much flack. You know these jurors are about to be stalked and harassed if the internet sleuths want to find them. And that makes you a bad person. If you attack these jurors, you're a bad person. But you just know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. And that's the problem with the world, is that in the name of seeking justice, because you're so mad at Gerhardt, you're going to take it out on the jurors. And I'm saying, don't be those people. Don't be those people. The world has enough of those people. Don't be one of them. Okay, we did it. We're done. We're done with this man. We never have to look at his face again. Hopefully, right? Hopefully, right? Hopefully. Chet says, philosophically, I will question the jurors' motives. Who knows? I can only imagine how stressful it is. Look, I've never been in that situation as well. Anytime I've served jury duty, I've never been picked. So I'm just going to say that as well. I could not imagine the amount of pressure they are under. And we all have biases and prejudice, that falls into these categories. So I don't know. I can, again, be personally upset or question or do whatever. That's absolutely valid. And also, I don't know what it's like to be in this position. I felt like vomiting just listening to the result. Guys, I physically felt sick. There's a pit in my stomach from waiting for the result. Now imagine it's all on you as the juror. Imagine you're experiencing so much fucking pressure. If I was a juror, I would have vomited 4 times. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to be deeply empathetic to everybody because I can only imagine how hard it must have been.